Hi everyone, my name is Sharna. You might know me from my Instagram at Sweet Sharna. I'm here to introduce you to week 1 of our Hearts and Flowers Crochet Along. A little bit about me, I come from a creative background. I've been crocheting for 11 years now. The inspiration for this lovely springtime blanket is hearts and flowers. We're coming out of those cool grey months and going into the warmer sunny months, so I've got lots of lovely bright sunshiny colours there. The blanket emphasises love, peace, harmony, mindfulness. So really gentle, fun blanket to make. So before we get started, I just want to make sure you have signed up to receive your weekly emails, which will include the written pattern and the video tutorials over at Sirdar.com. I want to make sure you've got your official yarn pack, which will include all the goodies, including our little label. Now let's talk about week 1. So our first week, if you're a new crocheter or if you're an advanced crocheter, it's going to be fine. There's nothing to worry about because you're going to learn how to make a granny square. You're going to learn how to work in rounds. You're going to learn how to work in rows. We're going to do a few colour changes. And we've got the triple stitch happening in there, and we've got a double crochet stitch happening in there. And we also learn how to crochet our squares together. So our first week, we're going to be making some lovely love heart squares. You're going to make 16 love heart squares, and most of these gorgeous colours here. You will have 8 squares for either side of your blanket. We'll be making the blanket in 2 sections as we go along, and it will be moving towards the centre every time we make it. Okay, so when you are watching the video tutorials, I highly recommend that you read the pattern alongside the video tutorials, because in the pattern you'll get the stitch numbers, you'll get the colour sequences, and if you've not read a pattern before, it's a great way to learn. Also, when you're making your first weeks, your first squares, make sure you remember to sew those ends in. So guys, let's get our hook and let's get started. So today we're going to make a granny heart square. If you've made a granny square before, that's great because we're using the traditional granny square method here. If you haven't, don't worry, because that's why I'm here to show you the step-by-step guide on how to make this square. So let's get started. So today we're going to use the deep rose yarn and the cream yarn to make our first heart square. So with our 4mm hook on our deep rose yarn, we're going to gather our yarn. I like to work from the outside, but whatever you prefer to do is fine. And with my 4mm hook, which I prefer to hold like this, I've got my thumb here on this nice flat bit. There's no right or wrong way on holding your crochet hook. It's however you feel comfortable. So let's get started. So with our yarn, we're going to wrap it around our finger, underneath, pull up a loop like that. Insert your hook into your loop and give it a little pull. We don't want to pull it too tight because you want your loop to move up and down nicely on your hook. So now we're going to start with a chain 4. So to begin our first chain stitch, we're going to yarn over, pull up your first loop. That's 1 chain stitch. Yarn over, pull up a loop, 2 chain stitches. Yarn over, pull up a loop, 3 chain stitches, yarn over, pull up a loop, and there we've made 4 chain stitches. Now we need to make a little circle to begin our square. To make that, we are going to insert our hook into the first chain stitch, which is here. I've made mine a little bit loose so I can show you exactly where you're going to insert your hook. So you get your hook and we insert it into the first chain stitch like that. We've made like a little U shape there. Now we need to make our little circle. That's what I call it. You might call it something else. So we're going to get this loop here, the second loop on your hook, the first loop on your hook, and we're going to pull that through like that. And then we're just going to find the middle. We've made our circle now. We're going to find the middle. Again, I'm going to make mine slightly loose so I can show you where the hole in the circle is, which is here. You can see my finger poking through. So you're now going to insert your hook into the center of your circle, and it should look like that. Now we're going to pull this first loop over the top of the second loop. And again, we need to find the middle of our circle. It does get a bit tricky. It might take you a couple of times to get this right, but don't worry, once you've figured it out, you'll be amazing at it. So now my loop is just there, but I shall show you in a second because we're going to start making our square now. So we're going to again make a chain 3, which is our first triple stitch. Chain 3 counts as our first triple stitch. So to do that, we're going to yarn over. We're going to just pull this over so we can start our chain 3. And you can see here the center starting to show more now. I've been playing with it. So let's start the chain 3. So yarn over, pull up a loop, 1 chain stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, 2 chain stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, 3 chain stitches. So we have just made 3 chain stitches. This counts as our first triple stitch, and we will do this on each round of our granny square. Now we're going to go into our triple stitch, and we're going to be again working into the center of our circle, which is here. So to start the first triple stitch, we're going to make sure we're comfortable holding our hook, yarn over, insert our hook into the center of the circle, and it will look like that. We're going to yarn over, we're going to pull up the first 2 middle loops, we're going to yarn over and pull the last 2 middle loops on our hook. That's our first triple stitch made. Now we need to make one more. We need to make a set of 3 triples. So we've got our chain 3, we've got our first triple stitch, and now we're going to make our third triple stitch. So we're going to yarn over, insert our hook into the center, pull up a loop. We've got 3 loops on our hook. Yarn over, pull through those 2 middle loops. We've got 2 loops left on our hook. Yarn over and pull through those 2 last loops. And we have just made a set of 3 triples. 1, 2, 3. Now we need to form our corner spaces for our square. So to do this, we're going to make 2 chain spaces. So again, with our yarn, we're going to yarn over, make 1 chain stitch, yarn over, make 2 chain stitches. Now we're going to go back to our triple stitch, and we're going to be working into the center of the circle once again. So yarn over, into the circle, pull up a loop. Now we have got 3 loops on our hook. We're going to yarn over, pull through the 2 middle loops, yarn over, pull through the remaining loops. That's our first triple stitch. Now we need to make 2 more in this set of 3 triples. So we're going to yarn over, insert our hook into the center, pull up a loop, 3 loops on our stitch, yarn over, pull through the 2 middle loops, yarn over, pull through the remaining loops. So we have got 1, 2 triple stitches. We need to make 1 more for this set of 3. So we're going to yarn over, insert our hook into the center, pull up a loop. Again, we've got 1, 2, 3 loops on our hook. Yarn over, pull through the 2 middle loops. Yarn over, pull through the remaining loops. Now we have another set of triples. If you can see here, we've got 2 sets of 3 triples and with a corner space of a chain 2. So now we're going to make another chain space, another corner space. So we're going to concentrate on the chain stitch again. So we're going to yarn over, 1 chain space, yarn over, 2 chain spaces. We're making another corner space for our square. And now we're going to make another set of 3 triples. So we're going to yarn over, insert our hook into the center, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through the 2 middle loops, yarn over, pull through the remaining loops. We're going to do that again. Yarn over, insert your hook into the center, yarn over, pull through the 2 middle loops, yarn over, pull through the remaining loops. So we've got 2 triples. We need to make 1 more because we need a set of 3 triples. So we're going to yarn over, insert our hook yarn over, pull up the 2 middle loops, yarn over, pull through the remaining loops. So there we have it. We've got a set of 3 triples. So we can see that the square is starting to take place. We've got a set of 3 triples here, a corner space of chain 2, a set of 3 triples here, a corner space of chain 2, a set of 3 triples here. So now again we're going to make another corner space, so we're going to chain 2. So we're going to yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull up a loop. Now we're going to make our last set of 3 triples for this round. So we're going to yarn over, insert our hook into the center again, pull up a loop, 3 loops on our hook, yarn over, pull through the middle ones, yarn over, pull through the remaining loops. We need to make 2 more triples, so we're going to yarn over, insert our hook into the middle, pull up a loop, 3 loops on our hook, yarn over, yarn over, pull through the 2 middle ones, yarn over, pull through the remaining loops. Now I'm going to make my last triple of this round. So we're going to yarn over, insert our hook into the middle, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through the 2 middle loops, yarn over, pull through the remaining loops. Okay, so now we have finished completing all our stitches on our first round. So now we need to join. We need to join to the first chain 3 to complete the round. So with your hook, we're going to find the first chain 3, your first chain 3 that you've done at the beginning of the round, which is here. Now, to do this, you're going to get your hook and you're going to make a slip stitch. And at the top here, you can see you've got your little loops here. You can see the little V stitches forming here. So you can insert your hook into that very first loop on the top, which is here. So insert your hook and we're going to pull through both stitches. So it should look like that. Also, if you find that tricky, I like to cheat here, and I don't think I never notice it in my patterns, and I've done it with the previous heart squares that I've just shown you on the round. I'm going to just take my hook out and we're going to start again. This is a much easier way to do it, and I call it cheating, but it's my little tip for you. So you're going to get your hook. This is your first chain 3 of the round here. And then you've got 1 triple, then you've got 2 triples. I get my hook and I just insert it in the space between that first chain 3 and the first triple. So I get my hook and I insert it into that space there, wrap my yarn round, and I pull up my loops to make my slip stitch. There we go. I don't think I can notice it in my squares, and that's just a little bit of cheating from me to you. So now we need to slip stitch across into this first corner space so we can start our second round of our square. So these little space, so we're going to slip stitch into these 2 triple stitches next to that first chain 3. So you can see the loops at the top here. We're going to be slip stitching into those loops. So we're going to get our hook and we're going to put it through, wrap around our yarn and pull through the loops. And we're going to do it again into that last triple there. So we're going to get our hook, stick it through those last 2 loops, wrap our yarn round, pull it through, pull up a loop, and we've slip stitched to our corner space, which is here. So now we're on to our second round of our square, and we're going to start again with a chain 3, which counts as our first triple. To do that, we need to insert our hook into the first corner space and just make a little slip stitch, which I've just shown you. So let's get our hook, insert our hook, wrap the yarn round, pull it through, pull up that loop. There we go. And now let's start our second round. So let's start again with a chain 3, which counts as our first triple. So wrap our yarn round, 1 chain stitch, wrap our yarn round, 2 chain stitch, wrap our yarn round, 3 chain stitch, and that's our first triple of that round. Now we need to make 2 more triples, so we're going to wrap our yarn round, insert our hook into that corner space, pull up a loop, and we have our 3 loops on our hook. We're going to yarn over, pull through those 2 middle loops like that, 2 remaining loops, pull those 2 through. That's our first triple stitch. Now we need to make 1 more triple stitch of this first 3 cluster. So yarn over, insert, pull up a loop, 3 loops on our stitch, wrap our yarn round, pull up those 2 middle loops like that. We wrap our yarn round, pull up the last 2 loops. So here we have our chain 3 and 2 triple stitches. That's our first set of 3 triples. Now we're going to make a corner space again, and we're going to chain 2 like we did on the previous round. So wrap our yarn round, chain 1, chain 2. Now we need to do 3 more triple stitches into this same space. So let's start, wrap our yarn round, insert our hook, pull up a loop, wrap our yarn round, pull up the 2 loops in the middle, wrap our yarn round, put up those remaining loops. That's our first triple made. So we need to make 2 more into this same space. So yarn over, insert, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through those 2 middle loops, yarn over, pull through the remaining loops. Now let's make our third triple, yarn over, insert, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through those 2 middle loops, yarn over, pull through those remaining loops. Now if you can see here, we have made our first corner space of our square. So we've got a set of 3 triples, we've got the space, the corner space here, and another set of 3 triples. We need to do exactly the same into this chain 2 corner space from the previous round. So some people like to add a chain stitch here, 1 chain stitch before they reach their corner space. I don't add a chain stitch, I just go straight into that corner space, starting with my triples. So we're going to yarn over, insert our hook into this second space here, pull up a loop, we've got 3 loops on our hook, yarn over, pull through the 2 middle loops, yarn over, pull through the remaining loops. So we need to do that 2 more times. So we're going to yarn over, insert our hook, pull up a loop, 3 loops on our hook, yarn over, pull through the 2 middle ones, yarn over, pull through the remaining 2. Let's make 1 more, yarn over, insert, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through the 2 middle loops, yarn over, pull through the remaining loops. That's our set of our first triples for our second corner. So now we need to make the corner space, so we're going to chain 2 again. So chain 1, chain 2, and now we need to make another 3 triples into this same space. So yarn over, insert, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through the 2 middle loops, yarn over, pull through the remaining loops. So we're going to do that 2 more times. Just excuse me, I've just got a little snag there. I'm just going to start that stitch again. So pull up the 2 middle loops, pull up the remaining loops. First triple stitch. Now let's make 2 more triple stitches for this space. So yarn over, insert your hook, pull up a loop, pull through 2 loops, pull through the remaining loops. Let's do that 1 more time. So I'm just going to show you here. If you can see, we've got our square shape forming. In each corner space, we are always going to have 1, 2, 3 triples, a chain 2 to make our corner, and 1, 2, 3 triples. So in our corner space, we're always going to have 6 triples and a chain 2 space. And that's going to be exactly the same going all the way around to the end of the round of our square. So I'm just going to fast forward to the end of my square. So I'm going to do my 3 triples into the next corner space, like so. My chain 2, my 3 triples, again, we've got the 3 triples, the chain 2 and the 3 triples, and we're going to do exactly the same into the last space from the previous round. So straight into your triple stitches. 1 triple, 2 triple, 3 triple, 2 chain spaces, 1, 2, and another 3 triple stitches. So 1, 2, 3. So we have finished our round. Again, we need to join it to the beginning. So we're going to go back to that first chain 3 of the round. Like I showed you before, you need to do a slip stitch. You can do that into the top of your chain 3, which is that loop straight here, or you can be like me and we can cheat and we can insert our hook into this little space here. So with a slip stitch, let's insert our hook into that space, wrap our yarn around, and then pull up the loop like so. And there we have it. We've got a little square forming. Okay, so now we have a little square shaped formed. This, if you can successfully see 4 corners on your square, 1, 2, 3, 4, well done to you, you're getting the hang of it. And we're ready to start the next stage in our square, which will be forming the heart shape. But before we get to that, we're going to just look at our written pattern. I think it's a really good idea to follow the written pattern while we're doing the video tutorials. In this round, you'll notice something different in this round. You'll notice some little star shapes and you'll see a star, repeat from to next star. That means repeat what you've done 2 more times. Further on in the pattern, you may be repeating it more times than twice. But when you see this, when you see a star repeat to star, that's what it means. Okay, so now we're going to introduce our cream yarn and start making our heart shape. So let's get our cream yarn ready. We're not going to go straight into that yet, but I'm just getting it ready to show you later. So we're going to continue with our deep rose yarn. Again, we need to slip stitch over to the first corner. So again, we're going to grab our hook. We're going to slip stitch into these little spaces at the top of the second triple. So insert our hook, pull up a yarn, pull it through, pull up the hook. We're going to do the same thing into the next space. Insert our hook, pull up a loop, pull it through, pull over the loop. So we're going to make a corner space again like we've done here. We're going to start with our chain 3, 2 triples, chain 2 to make our corner space, and another set of chain 3s. Hopefully by now you're getting the hang of things. So we're going to insert our hook into the corner space, pull up a loop, pull it through, and chain 3, 1, 2, 3. 3 chains, which counts as our first triple. Remember, on each round of our granny squares, we will always start with a chain 3, which will be our first triple. Now we need to make 2 more triples. So we're going to yarn over, insert our hook into the corner space, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through the 2 middle loops, yarn over, pull through the remaining loops. Again, we're going to make 1 more triple, yarn over, insert our hook, pull up 2 loops, pull up the remaining loops. And we have made our first set of 3 triples. Now we're going to make our next corner space. So we're going to chain 2, 1, 2, chain. Now we're going to make another set of 3 triples. When we get to the 3rd triple, we're going to introduce the cream yarn, and I will show you how to do that in a second. So let's just start with our first 2 triples. So we're going to yarn over, insert the hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 middle loops, yarn over, pull through the remaining loops. We're going to yarn over, insert our hook. Sorry, I'm just going to go back. That was our first triple, wasn't it? So we're now making the second triple. Yarn over, insert our hook, yarn over, pull through the 2 middle loops, yarn over, pull through to the 2 remaining loops. So on this 3rd triple, we are going to introduce the cream yarn. So if you just watch me carefully for this, I'm just going to get my cream yarn ready. This might be a little bit tricky. It might take you a little while to get the hang of it, but it won't. As soon as you've got it, you'll be flying away. So we're going to begin with, we're going to carry on making our first triple with our deep rose yarn. So we're going to yarn over, insert our hook with 3 loops on our hook. We're going to yarn over, pull through those 2 middle loops like that, and we've got 2 loops remaining. Now we're going to introduce our cream yarn. So we're going to get our cream yarn, we're going to just lay it over our hook like that, and we're going to pull through those 2 remaining pink loops until we have just got 1 loop of cream yarn on our hook. So we just want to give it a little pull at the back here. Now this is where things can get tricky. I like to, so this round you need to work out what you're going to do with both your yarns. So I like to cut off my yarn. So I'm going to snip off my pink yarn, leaving enough so I can sew in the ends. There we go. So with my scissors, I've just snipped off, and I've just got a little tail there, which gives me enough to sew in the end at the end once I've made the square. Some people like to carry the yarn and they don't like to cut it off. They just like to carry it on, and you'll just continue yarning over it and hiding it behind your stitches. But for me, when it comes to sewing in at the end, once you've made your granny square, I like the neater finish at the back. If you carry the yarn over without cutting it off, you don't get such a neater finish at the end. So now we are going to, so we have got our cream stitch, got our cream on the hook. We're going to make 3 triple stitches into this middle space here, only 3 triple stitches. So with our cream yarn, we're going to yarn over, again the same as before, we're making a triple stitch. Insert our hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through those 2 middle loops, yarn over and pull through those last remaining loops. You might again just want to give it a little tug at the end, not too tight, just so you can see where you're at. And if you look here, you can see where we have joined the cream yarn nicely to the deep rose yarn. Should be a nice neat join like that. So now we need to make 2 more triple stitches into this middle space. So we're going to yarn over, insert our hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through those 2 middle loops, yarn over, pull through the remaining loops, and 1 more triple. Yarn over, insert our hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through those 2 middle loops. We're going to stop there because we're now going to cut the yarn off and we're going to introduce the deep rose back into the square. So we've got our remaining 2 loops here. We're going to get our pink yarn and we're going to lay it over the top of our hook and pull through those 2 cream loops like that until we have a pink loop on our hook. So again, I'm going to cut my yarn just because that's how I prefer to do it. Okay, so now we should have our pink yarn on our hook. We've just got 1 loop there, and we're going to make the triple stitches again into the next corner space. So I'm just going to give it a little tug here so it's not too loose. I'm going to yarn over, insert my hook into the corner space, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through the remaining loops. So I'm just doing the corner space exactly the same as I've done here. I've got the set of 3 triples, a chain 2 corner space, and a set of 3 triples. So again, I'm going to make my second triple, yarn over, insert my hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through the 2 middle loops, yarn over, pull the remaining loops through. I'm going to make my third triple, chain 2 for my corner space, 1, 2. I'm going to make another set of 3 triples, 1, 2, 3. Okay, we're just going to lay our square down and see if we've all got the same. If your square is matching mine, then you're doing great. You've got your corner space here, set of 2 triples with a corner space of chain 2. In the space here, we've got in the cream a set of 3 triples, and then we've got another corner space here, 3 triples, a chain 2 and a 3 triple. Now we're going to turn our square around like this, and we have another center space. We're going to make 3 triples into this center space here. So with your yarn over, insert your hook and make your first triple. 1, 2, go. We have got 3 triples in that space. Now we're going to introduce our cream yarn again. So we are going to, sorry, I've made a mistake. I'm just going to go back on that last triple because we want to introduce the cream yarn. You might find yourself doing this as well, but don't worry, we will make mistakes. So we're going to, on that last triple, yarn over, pull up 2 loops, leaving 2 pink loops remaining on your hook. We're going to introduce our cream yarn here. I'm going to lay it over our hook, pull up those 2 pink loops like that. I'm now going to cut my pink yarn like so, just with my cream yarn remaining on my hook. Now we are going to make the corner space here with a set of 3 triples, a chain 2 and a set of 3 triples. So yarn over, insert your hook, pull up 2 loops, yarn over, pull up another 2 loops. You might just want to give your yarn again another little tug here so it's not too loose. So I'm going to start with my second triple. My third triple, a chain 2, 1, 2, another 3 triples into this same space, 1, 2, 3, but we're going to stop there with those last 2 remaining loops on your hook because we are now going to introduce the pink yarn again. So we're going to get our pink yarn, lay it over our hook, put up those 2 loops like so, and give it a little pull at the back. I'm going to snip my cream yarn, and I'm now going to make 3 triples into this space here. So yarn over, insert your hook, pull up 2 loops, pull up the remaining hook loops. And I'm just going to give it a little tug there. If it becomes loose, just give it a little tug at the back like that. So I'm going to make another triple, yarn over, like so. There we go. And I'm going to make one last triple. On this round, we're going to introduce the cream yarn back into the stitch. So we've got our remaining 2 pink loops. Get our cream yarn, lay it over your hook, pull up those 2 loops. I'm going to yarn over, and we're going to do a set of 3 triples and a chain 2 and another set of 3 triples into this corner space here. So 1, 2, 3. There we go. On a chain 2, 1, 2, and 3 triples into the same space. 1, 2, and in the last triple we're going to introduce the deep rose yarn one more time. So yarn over, pull up 2 loops, 2 loops remaining. We're going to, bear with me, I didn't actually cut the pink from the last round, which I'm going to do now. I'm going to get my pink yarn, lay it over my hook, pull up those 2 loops like so. Just going to give them a little tug at the back. And then I'm going to insert my hook and do 3 triples in this last remaining space. So 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to make a slip stitch to end our round. Again, you can do your slip stitch into the top of your chain 3, which will be here, or like me, you might want to cheat and insert your hook into the little space between the chain 3 and the triple, like so. And we're just going to stop there because if you put your square in front of you, you can now see that your heart is starting to take shape, and hopefully you're getting used to introducing the new colour, the cream, onto your round. Okay, so now you have completed your third round on your square. You can see that you've got a little heart shape forming here like this. If you can successfully see again, 1, 2, 3, 4 corners, and it's looking like a square, you're doing great. So I'm just going to bring my sample square in to show you how great you are doing. So we have now only got one more round of introducing the 2 different colours, and then we go on to just using the cream for the following rounds. So as you can see here, we've just got the 2 clusters up here. I'm just going to follow my finger round. This is the round that we're going to do next. So we're going to slip stitch into our corner space with the deep raised yarn. So slip stitch through those 2 top stitches at the top. 1, 2. We're now going to make a chain 3 into the corner space, which counts as our first triple. 1, 2, 3. Then we need to make 2 triples, a chain 2 and 3 triples into the same space. I'll go over the first triple with you. So yarn over, insert your hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through the remaining loops. We're going to make another triple. We're going to do a chain 2, 1, 2. We're going to do another 3 triples. 1, 2. We're going to do our third triple, but we're going to introduce our cream yarn into this last triple of this corner. So yarn over, put up 2 loops, which leaves the remaining 2 pink loops. We're going to get our cream yarn. Again, I didn't cut that from the last round, so I'm just going to snip it now. We're going to lay our cream yarn over there, pull up those 2 loops. So we've got our cream loop on our hook. Now I'm just going to place the square flat and show you here. We have 2 spaces here. So we've got 1 space there, 2 spaces on this side, 1 space here, and 1 space here. So in both those spaces with our cream yarn, we're going to make 3 triples. In this space, we're going to make 3 triples. So let's do that now. So yarn over, insert your hook into the space, make 1 triple. Two triple. And 3 triple. So I'm just going to show you, that's our first 3 triples into that space, and we're going to do the same again into this space here. So 1, 2, and 3. On this last round here, we're going to introduce the pink yarn again. So when we get down to our last 2 loops from that last triple on our hook, we're going to get our pink yarn, snip it from the last round, lay it over our hook, pull through those 2 cream loops. We've got our pink yarn on our hook, and we're going to do the corner space again. So a set of 3 triples, chain 2, 3 triples with our pink yarn. So yarn over, insert, first triple, 1, 2, oops, 3. So it's just becoming a little bit loose there, so I'm just going to turn it over and just give it a little tug. We're going to talk about the ends in a minute, so don't worry about that. So chain 2, and then we're going to do another 3 triple into the same space. 1, 2, 3. We've made another corner space. So here we have got 2 more spaces here on this side. So I'm just going to show you what we're going to do here. So with our pink yarn, we're going to do 3 triple stitches into the first space. On the last triple of this round, we're going to introduce the cream yarn, and we're going to do 3 triples in the cream yarn here. Then with the cream, we're going to continue all the way round to the other side here. And then we will introduce our next colour change. Okay, so let's continue with the pink yarn. 3 triples into the first space. 1, 2, 3. We're going to introduce our cream yarn, so we've got the last 2 loops on our hook. Okay, I'm going to snip my yarn. Remember to snip it this time. Did I do it in the last time? There we go. So we're going to yarn over, pull through those 2 pink loops. We're going to do 3 triples in the cream colour into the next space. 1, 2, 3. Then we're going to do 3 triples, a chain 2, 3 triples into our next corner space with the cream yarn. 1, 2, 3, chain 2, 1, 2, 3 triples, 1, 2, 3. So we're going to continue that process until we get to this last space here. So we're just going to continue with the cream yarn, making 3 triples into the next space, 3 triples into the next space, 3 triples, a chain 2, 3 triples into the next corner space, and 3 triples into this last space in the cream. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Now we're working into our corner space, 3 triples, 1, 2, 3, chain 2, 1, 2, 3 triples into the same space, 1, 2, 3. There we go. So continuing with the cream yarn, we're going to do 3 triples into the next space, but we're going to do the colour change on the 3rd triple of this space. So 1, 2, 3, yarn over, pull up 2 loops, leaving 2 cream loops on your hook. I cut my yarn. Going to introduce my lovely deep rows. Pull up the 2 loops. I'm going to do 3 triples in the deep rows into this space here. So 1, 2, 3. And to finish the round, we're going to slip stitch back to the beginning, over onto the top of your chain 3 at the top here, or like me, you're going to cheat, and I'm going to insert my hook into the space between. And there's my slip stitch. Now I'm going to cut off my pink yarn because that's it. We've finished with our deep rows. I'm just going to tie the ends off. So I've cut the yarn, I'm going to pull up a loop like so, and then I'm just going to pull the tail through the loop to secure it for now. Okay, so you have now completed your heart. Okay, as you can see here, we have a lovely heart in front of us. If you can see your 4 corners, 1, 2, 3, 4, you're doing great. Now we're going to talk about the other side. We're going to turn it over, and we have got a lot of ends here. So I've made my pattern beginner friendly. That's why I've cut the ends. I prefer to myself cut the ends because when I sew them in at the end, I have a much neater back of my heart. My heart is much neater. So when it comes to sewing in the ends, I made all 16 of my heart squares, and I embraced the ends, and I put a nice show on, nice TV program on Netflix, grabbed my needle, and I just made the most of sewing my ends in and just had it as a little mindful craft, and actually really enjoyed the process. So don't be afraid of your ends. Okay, so now we have finished round 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to move on to round 5. In round 5, we're just going to be using the cream yarn. We're going to be following the same pattern again. We're going to start with our chain 3, then 2 triples, chain 2, 3 triples. We're going to continue doing 3 triple stitches into the side spaces. So we've got 1, 2, 3. Then we're going to continue the same pattern in the corner spaces. So let's join our cream yarn. So let's insert our hook into a corner space, pull up our yarn, and we're going to start with our chain 3 again, which counts as our triple stitch. 1, 2, 3, and then 2 more triples. 1 triple, 2 triple, chain 2, 3 more triples into the same space. There we go. So let's just talk through this one more time. So you are working in the corner spaces, 3 triples, a chain 2, 3 triples, and in all the side spaces, you're working sets of 3 triples. So we've got 3 triple set here, 3 triple set here, and a 3 triple set here. So we've got 3 spaces on this side to work into. So 1, 2, 3, next space, 3 triples, 1, oops, 2, 3, next space, 3 triples, 1, 2, 3, and into the corner space, 3 triples, a chain 2 and 3 triples. So once you've got the hang of making these heart patterns, you'll be flying away, and before you'll know it, you'll have 16 beautiful heart squares in front of you. It's a really lovely, mindful pattern because you're just repeating the same stitches over and over again, but it's just really calming. I love making granny squares. I find them really mindful to make. It's just very, very calming, and you produce something beautiful at the end of it. So we're going to carry on. So I'm going to carry on around my square, and I will meet you back at the end. Okay, so we are just coming to the end of round 5, and we're going to slip stitch back into that first corner space. So again, you can slip stitch to the top of your chain 3 at the beginning of the round, or like me, I'm going to cheat, slip stitch into this space, slip stitch across the next 2 triples till I reach my corner space, 1 slip stitch, 2 slip stitch, and then into my corner space. So we have one more round in the cream, round 6, and that will be our square completed. Again, we're going to start with our chain 3, 2 triples, chain 2, 3 triples in our corner space, and then on round 6 we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces to work our triples into. So again, on all the side spaces we work 3 triples, and in the corner spaces we work 3 triples, chain 2 and 3 triples. So let's just get started on round 6. Okay, so chain 3, 1, 2, 3, into our triple stitches. Oops, actually using my end to crochet with then, sorry guys. So it's just gonna go back to that beginning loop. There we go. We all make mistakes, but don't make that mistake. 1, 2, 3, chain 3, our first triple, 2 triples, 1, 2, chain 2, 3 triples into the same space, 1, 2, 3, then working into the next space, 3 triples, 1, 2, 3. So we're going to continue this process around our square, working 3 triples into all of the side spaces, 3 triples, chain 2 into all of the corner spaces. So I shall see you in a little bit when we finish round 6. So now you have finished round 6 of your square. Hopefully you have slip stitched into your chain 3 in the corner and fastened off, and you have a square that looks like mine. We're now going to talk about the tension of the square. My square measures 10 centimeters, 5 inches. If your square has come out a lot smaller than mine, you might want to go up a hook size so it matches the size of my blanket. If your square has come up bigger than mine, you might want to go down a hook size. We've given you enough yarn to make a blanket the same size as mine. So now we're going to turn over and we're going to sew in our ends. Again, like I said, we're going to embrace this. I save all my squares to the ends and I sew all the ends in together. I put maybe a nice movie on Netflix that I can have in the background or listen to some nice calm music and just embrace the whole sewing in technique. So you need a good needle with a nice hole at the end, or eye, or whatever you call it. You're going to insert your yarn through that hole. You just want to secure them nicely so you can make your square. So once you've sewn all your ends in, it looks lovely and neat at the end. So I'm just going to insert my needle onto those 2 hooks, and then I'm going to do it again onto these 2 hooks, onto these 2 loops. I'm just keep pushing it along so my yarns come out. You can do it as many times as you want. You just want to secure them in and make sure it looks neat. So here I've just sewn my end in through the back loops of my triple stitches like this. So you just basically repeat that with every single end, and then when you're happy, just snip that off. I'm going to show you one more time. So I'm just going to insert my needle under the triple stitches, any triple stitches from you around. Just pull it through. You might want to go in different directions. There's really no right or wrong way of doing this. You just want to make sure you secure those ends, making sure it looks neat at the same time, making sure they're lovely and secure. I'm going to continue this and pretend I've sewn in all my ends, and I'll see you in a minute. So now you have sewn in all your ends, we're going to join our granny squares together. I clearly haven't finished sewing all my ends in, so please excuse me, but let's get on to joining our squares. So here's a square that I made earlier. We have 2 heart squares here. We're now going to put them on top of each other with right sides facing. So you'll have your wrong sides facing out at you. Okay, and we're going to look at the sides of our granny squares. We're going to find our corners. Make sure the corners are matching, like so. We're going to get our hook, we're going to get our cream yarn, and we're going to join our square. So we're going to insert our hook into our corner space, and then we're going to push it through to the second square into the corner space like that. So you have 2 squares on your hook, and your hook should be inserted through those 2 corner spaces. Now we're going to add our yarn. We're going to place it over our hook and pull it through, and we're going to do a chain stitch. So 1 chain stitch, and now we're going to work into the outside stitches on each square to join. Okay, so the outside stitches I'm going to show you with my hook. So on the first stitch here, you have got, let's do it this way. You've got up here, you've got your little V shapes. So the ones facing, these ones face, the ones on the outside here, that's where you're going to insert your hook. You're not going to insert your hook into the first one. You're going to insert your hook into the second one here, and I call them the outside loops. So we're going to insert, can be a bit tricky to begin with, but you will get used to it. We're going to insert our hook into that first outside loop, then we're going to do the same with the other square. So there's our outside loop there. I'm going to pull up a loop and we're going to slip stitch, and we're going to do the same again. We're going to find our outside loop here. So there's 2, see 1, 2 loops at the top. We're going to go into that first loop, then we're going to find the matching stitch on the other square. You can see here we've got 1, 2 loops. We're going to go onto that outside loop here. Insert your hook, pull it, slip stitch. We're going to do the same again. Find our outside loop. Can be a bit tricky, but once you've got the hang of it, you'll be flying ahead. So again, insert our hook into the outside loop, and we're going to slip stitch. And we're going to do that all the way until we reach our corner space. So if you just follow me, insert your hook into the outside loop, the opposite outside loop, slip stitch. It's very simple when you get the hang of it. There we go. So you can continue this until you reach the end, until you're back into the corner space. So I'll see you in a second. We've got our last couple of stitches left and we're getting to the end here. So just going to continue slip stitching on these outside loops until we reach the corner space. And then in the corner space, here we go, the corner space here, we're going to insert our hook into the next corner space, into both, pull through, and I always do a chain stitch. Oh, sorry, repeat that. I always do a double crochet when I reach the end, and to double crochet, you're going to insert your hook into those corner spaces, yarn over, and pull through all the loops on your hook. And pull up a loop. I'm now going to cut my yarn and fasten off to secure. I'm going to open up and you should have 2 squares joined together. Here we go, and if you can see, you've got like a lovely rib here. You can see that lovely detail and you can see where your square is joined. And you're going to repeat this until you have joined all 8 of your squares for both sides of your blanket. Okay, so now we have joined all our squares together. Obviously I've only joined the 2, but hopefully you've got 2 sets of 8 squares, 2 strips of 8 squares. We're now going to add some granny stripes to either side of our strips. So with the deep rose yarn, we're going to start in the very first corner space, which is here. Again, we're going to be working in sets of triples. So you should be an expert at tripling by now. So again, we're going to chain 3, which counts as our first triple. 1, 2, 3. And then in this corner space, we're just going to do 1 triple. Add 1 more triple, 1 more triple. So we have got a chain 3 and 1 triple. And now we're going to work 3 triples into all the spaces across this square until we reach the middle join here. So into the next space, we're going to do 3 triples. 1, 2, 3. And we're going to continue that until we reach the middle join. I shall see you in a second. Right, okay, so we're just coming up to our middle join here. We have your 2 triples in the first corner space here. So I've got a chain 3, which counts as your first triple, and 1 triple stitch. And then I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spaces, and in each space I've got 3 triple stitches. And now we're coming up to the join, which is here. I'm going to work, this can be a bit tricky, but I'm going to work in this space here. You're going to work 3 triples. You just have to have like a little dig, you've got to dig into it with your crochet hook. Just dig into any little space that you can find there. Obviously not right down here. I'm not into just one loop. We want it to be stable. So if you just watch what I'm going to do, I'm just going to twiddle my hook into this space here until I'm happy. It does take a little bit of getting used to. There we go. Twiddled my hook into a nice space here. I'm happy with that space, and I'm going to do a triple stitch into this space. And I'm going to do 2 more triple stitches into this space, into your middle join. I shall show you when I've completed my last triple here. There, I've tripled. There's 3 triples into that little space there of your join. You can see. And now we're going to continue again working triple stitches, 3 triple stitches into each space across here until we reach the corner. I shall see you again in a minute. Okay, so you should have in each space 3 triples, starting from the very first corner, going all the way across your work until you reach the last corner space here. In that last corner space, you're only going to work 2 triple stitches, like me. 1, 2. There we go. So you should have 1 row of granny stripe in the deep rows, and it should look like this. 3 triples in each space, 2 triples in the very first corner spaces, 2 triples in the last corner space, and in our join here you'll have 3 triples. Once you're happy with that, you can cut your yarn and fasten off, and then repeat the same process on the other side, starting in the very first corner space. And then once you've completed that, you are then going to grab your cream yarn and repeat the same process again with your cream yarn on either side. And I shall see you in a little while. Okay, so I have added the cream granny stripe above my pink here. Hopefully yours will look the same, and you have it on the bottom of your panel here. You obviously will have 8 granny squares instead of my 2, and hopefully you're matching mine. So that's it for week 1. So I've shown you how to crochet a granny square in the round. I've shown you how to crochet a row. You should be now starting your granny square hearts. I want you to enjoy the process. Don't rush, don't hurry, take as long as you like. The videos and tutorials are going to be there forever. Come and say hi over on the Facebook group, and I'll see you soon for week 2.